Welcome to our Horizen Weekly Insider number 88. Today is May 17, 2021. Thanks for joining us live here on Discord and YouTube, and please be aware that this call is being recorded and will also be available for you to check out later in our Horizen podcast. Also, please remember to ask your questions on Menti so we can answer them at the end. I'll pass the word now to Ana Julia, who is going to give us the engineering updates because Alberto is on traveling for Blockchain UA conference. So Ana Julia, please welcome.
Thank you, Angie. Hi, everybody, and happy Monday. So, starting from the proving system today, last week we performed the final code review of the proof verifier, and this was approved and merged. This item was actually the last one pending of the tasks related to the proving system, so we can now say to have completed this part. Apart from this, we continued with final code reviews for the different crypto libraries, which needed to be updated, of course, for the new release, including the news and do CCTP lib that is now finalized. On another note, we are making progress also with the proving system white paper. We are continuing to write it, so also this activity is moving on in parallel. So moving on to Zendu, last week we were able to perform a lot of final code reviews and close many different items. In particular, among the different things, we reviewed the bit vector and the sys sidechain withdrawal for forward transfers after last valid epoch, just to name a few of them. All the related pull requests were, of course, approved and merged, so now there is only one last part open, that is the proof verifier integration. Currently, we're writing the related tests for this item, after which we'll be able to perform the code review. And in parallel, of course, the various integration activities are going on, and this week will be mainly dedicated to that. Another final update is that on Wednesday, May 19th, we are presenting at Blockchain UA in Kyiv. The presentation will be about Latos's approach to handle data availability attacks on recursive ZK snark-based sidechains, and both Roman Olinikov and Alberto Garofalo will be presenting, so we hope to see you there. So probably this is it for today. Back to you, Angie. Thank you.
Thank you, Ana Julia. Let's continue with Jonathan to give us the growth updates.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me okay? I'm having some internet issues today.
We can.
Okay, great. So on our side, we ended the $2,500 giveaway for the STZen promotion. We've already picked the winners over the weekend. So if you entered, make sure to check your email or social media to see if you were contacted as a winner. So that's really exciting, and it was pretty successful. So we're considering potentially doing another giveaway in the near future. In addition to that, we're finishing up work on the Horizen Labs website redesign. It should be finished hopefully by the end of the week. Everything is looking pretty good. It looks really snazzy. And I think Lucy and her team have done a great job of putting that together. It looks really, really cool. And lastly, we updated the help desk ticketing system on getzen.cash. To make it easier for anyone who has any questions or suggestions to get help. And that's it for me today. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jonathan. Let's continue with Lucy for the marketing updates.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. So the Twitter 100,000 follow milestone giveaway ended last week. We have already drawn winners, so the winners will hear from us via emails very soon. And if you didn't win, it's okay. Like Jonathan mentioned, we will likely launch another one for our users, particularly STZen holders. And we also have some other giveaways. They're still ongoing. For example, our STZen gas fee reimbursement promotion is still live. There are still spots for more participants. The first 100 participants that meet all the requirements will get their gas fee reimbursed. And you really only need one STZen to enter. So act now. There's still spots. Also, we are doing a live AMA with one of our third-party wallet partners, Guada, and the AMA comes with a giveaway as well. The AMA is tomorrow on Guada's YouTube channel, so please check our social media feed for more details. And our general counsel, Dean Steinbeck, did an interview with Brian and Aaron from podcast Crypto 101 to discuss the regulatory side of crypto industry along with the potential impact of crypto savvy people being placed in positions of power in the United States. So the podcast is shared through our social media. Please take a listen if you are interested in crypto regulation side of things. And then also this week we'll be sharing an interview Rob did with Real Vision. So Real Vision is an on-demand financial TV channel. It focuses on finance, business, and global economy with in-depth analysis from industrial experts. And Real Vision has a really large audience base with their paid subscription base and their public channels, also including over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. So once Rob's interview is released on their channel, we will share with the community. I'm really excited about that one. And then other than that, we're just working on the background on some really, really exciting partnerships. So don't go anywhere and stay tuned. And Erica has some updates about our ambassador program as well. Floor's yours, Erica.
Hey everyone, I hope you had a great weekend. So this last week for the ambassador program, we worked on getting the onboarding guide sent out, and we'll be finishing up that task this week. We're just putting some final touches on the onboarding guides to get those out to our ambassadors. We also tried something new with our Discord tasks that involved having people reach a certain level on our Discord before they were eligible for the task. It's only been completed once out of the 30 times by someone who met the requirements. So if you guys are doing our daily tasks and following along, be sure to post in our Discord and reach that Zenterested level in order to, and it was Michael, yes, in order to reach that level. This task was designed to kind of get people integrated more into our Discord. It's great that people are coming in and doing the daily tasks, but we want to see you starting conversations, chatting with other people who are in the community, and just getting everyone really integrated into the community with these tasks. I also want to thank Michael and Threado for being so amazing and so helpful. They have been helping out checking the daily task completions, which has helped me immensely. So I just want to let you guys know that I really appreciate your help. This last week, we also had our first ever HDE task completed by our ambassador, Andre. He completed the STZen video creation task, and it's great. So be sure to check that out. And that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you, Erica. Great updates. And the ambassador, just wanted to say that the ambassador program has been such a huge hit and so popular. And Erica is really getting swamped and overwhelmed. And really glad that our community members can help. And we are getting more help for Erica as well. That's it from us. Back to you, Angie.
Thank you, girls. Now let's welcome Rosario for Product and Engineering.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm also loving the ambassador program. Great job, Erica, doing that. And the rest of the ambassadors that are supporting our community growth. Okay, so we are kicking off the audit. And this is a reminder, this is a third-party audit that will be conducted on our Zendoo code base. And the primary auditor will be a company that did our first audit on Zend, and that is CoinSpec. There is a second company that will be conducting a specialized portion of the audit. It's for the Zendoo Proof Verifier. And as you heard previously with Anna Julia, she mentioned some delays of the Proof Verifier. So that won't impact the start of the audit, which is good because we want to identify issues if there's any issues in our code base by this third-party auditor as quickly as possible so we can fix it. We're doing this as a measure of responsibly updating. This is a major upgrade, so I want to remind everyone we move very quickly each week with our updates, but Zendoo is going to be the first major upgrade of our network, and we are taking all the steps in place to responsibly perform that audit. I still cannot announce the second audit company, but I will do that in the following weeks. But it is more of a specialized cryptographic company that will be doing that. On the project side, and this is from the Horizen Labs side. So on the project side, we have the audit for audit sidechain. Celsius continues integrating and our sidechain system and writing a mini app that will broadcast transactions to our audit sidechain. We've also been finalizing the branding aspects of what are we going to be calling this product with the audit sidechain. So that's something that we've worked on the last few weeks. And this week we have a call with the design and marketing folks from Celsius, and we will be doing some preliminary work. So we have two paths with Celsius. One's a technical path that's going well, and the other one's the community marketing end, which we will start working with them this week. From a game chain perspective, the game developer is also making progress with the multiplayer. And once we complete this cycle of development, we hope to actually have multiplayer in this new game. So that's going to be their effort. And then we still have, or they have on their end, just few more weeks to integrate and do a lot of the UI work and then move to the blockchain integration, which will be in the following couple months. And then finally with IOTA, so it's a partner that we announced a couple weeks ago. We've finalized we were in the idea phase, so we had a rough idea of how we wanted to integrate our technologies and the projects. We are on the final steps of wrapping that up. So it'll move from an idea phase to a project phase, and I will be providing updates similar to what I'm doing with Celsius and our game chain partner. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosario. Rolf, would you like to add any comments or updates today?
Yeah, I just want to focus a little bit on topical issues. For example, Elon Musk was talking about Bitcoin mining energy usage and it being a lot, and contrasting it with Doge, whereas as a miner, I mine both Bitcoin and I mine Doge as well. They both use energy. And a Zen holder reached out and asked me if Horizen would possibly change to proof of stake in the future as a way to reduce energy usage. And my answer to him was that it's unlikely that Horizen will make any kind of consensus model change in the short term or for the next few years. And I guess that kind of requires an explanation. So longer term, these types of decisions will be made in a decentralized way when we implement a sidechain based governance system. But one of the things that we like to do at the Horizen project is work in a methodical way to make improvements, and where possible use technology that's proven to work at scale and under load. And Bitcoin's demonstrated that proof of work based blockchains can grow and sustain operations reliably. And there's really no comparable proof of stake based cryptocurrency that have a track record like Bitcoin right now. I know Cardano is proof of stake, and they're working towards that, and Ethereum is working towards becoming a proof of stake model. So there's no reason to engender that type of risk. The amount of energy used in doing the mining is really small compared to the benefits that the overall project makes. So I figured that if one person reached out to me with that question, maybe other people would have that kind of question as well. And yeah, just like Rosario mentioned in the comments, one of the ways that we're going to scale is by having side chains, and our primary side chain model is a proof of stake side chain. So we certainly have nodes, and those nodes are compensated with node operators, but that's not the way our main chain does consensus. It is a proof of work model. There are many people that mine Zen all over the world in a very decentralized fashion. So that really provides a good proven model for us to continue down the path. Thanks. That's all I got today.
Thank you so much, Rolf. And now let's welcome Rob for the final part and Q&A session.
Thanks, Angie. And let me see. So going to my notes, to quickly piggyback on what Rolf was just saying. So this is an important governance topic, is we just don't make changes at the core, kind of like macro changes. So the consensus, macro changes to our economic model of how rewards get allocated and so forth. Just kind of we try not to do it unilaterally, right? We have in the past, in the sense that we launched the foundation. The foundation has been making, controlling GitHub, and we've been doing software development and so forth. But the way that we're going is we've been building out a much more robust governance model for the ecosystem. So at this point, we are a mature enough project where we're just not going to make quick knee-jerk decisions on major macro items like consensus for the main chain. What we have now is we have a Zen-IP process where people can propose changes, and we are working fast on rolling out Zen-Do, so then we can work fast again from there on an actual voting system. At this point, and combine this with a Horizen Community Council that I talked about last week, and I'll speak briefly about again this week. But the idea is we want to aggregate as much community sentiment, and I'm talking real community sentiment, not just the loudest people, but a broad cross-section of those that are represented in this community, and understand what their preferences are, what they want to see from the project, and then come to a collective decision-making process. We don't have that in place right now, and that's why we've been very conservative with how we do development and how we make any kinds of changes. And this comes to, I am very much aware that there is growing concern about the ecological footprint of proof of work blockchains. And the good news, then Rolf just mentioned this, that the point that Rosario made is, the good news is we are in process of launching a proof of stake enabled sidechain system. So all of these sidechains are proof of stake. And if you want to look at the average ecological footprint of our ecosystem, it collapses in the sense that most, if not all, on the margin of development activity for applications and different type of usage for the ecosystem should occur on the sidechain ecosystem, which is all proof of stake in the future. Now, it is secured by this very robust proof of work main blockchain, and this is something that I completely concur with Rolf's sentiment on. We want to have very robust, kind of like a scientific approach to, if we change this over time, and this wouldn't be a short-term thing. If we change it, it would be a very robust decision-making process and robust R&D to make sure that what we're doing is actually not compromising the entire ecosystem. Anyway, I just wanted to piggyback on that because it is such an important concept of just how we make decisions as an ecosystem. And also we need to be responsive to growing concerns that are out there for many people around the world about the way this technology works. So hopefully this is at least shed some insight into how we make decisions and where we'll be going in the, say, intermediate to longer term. Okay, so speaking of governance, we do have a big foundation board meeting this Wednesday. So these are quarterly meetings, and this just, again, goes towards our governance as an ecosystem. We have a foundation. You can think of the foundation as a sort of like governing body within this ecosystem. And we want to make sure that we have proper governance of the governing body, right? Like quies custodi ipsos custodes, right? Who's watching the watchers? Well, in this case, we have an independent board that we are, in fact, growing. So what happens in these quarterly meetings is I present quarterly updates to the board. These include where we are on our strategic path, accomplishments, and how we are accomplishing our goals towards our strategic path, updated financials, and an interesting element in this board meeting is that we will be voting on adding a new board director. And I'm extremely excited to announce who this person is. Could not be happier. He will add a tremendous amount of value to the ecosystem with just who he is, his past background as an entrepreneur, as an investor in the ecosystem, as an innovator in the blockchain space early on. So really excited for that. So we'll be voting on adding him to the board so we can improve just our independence and governance oversight of the foundation. And then from there, what we're doing with the foundation is I think we need to do a little bit better of a job of, it's like we're always in a kind of a sprint with everything that we're doing, where it's tough to think strategically long term. I think we do a good amount of it, but sometimes it's tough in the daily grind because we work so hard and you have so many moving pieces of this machine of an organization, of an ecosystem everywhere between the foundation to labs to pipeline and all of the different people, the evangelists, everyone working together to make this a successful ecosystem. Well, sometimes you have to take a moment, pause, and just think strategically. So one of these thoughts that I've been having is we need to more formally define the mission of the foundation and think about the foundation's future. So towards this end, what I want to do, and I've said this to you guys before, sort of generally speaking, the mission of the foundation is base science and technology, community building, and communications. We want to make sure that the foundation is the conduit of facilitating things that you can look at as sort of public goods that are not really commercializable. So there are some things that we know that we all need from a public goods perspective, like base science and technology, a working, functioning, open source software project with a blockchain that's operating successfully, and a whole bunch of other things like the community building stuff that you cannot convince investors to go and put money in because it's not commercializable, right? The Zen Evangelist program is not commercializable, or maybe some people can challenge me in interesting ways on that. But there are sets of things that are not commercializable, and this is really the core of the foundation. This is why the foundation exists. And then we have other entities, for-profit entities, as an example, like Horizen Labs, that then go and build software that catalyzes the ecosystem significantly, but it is commercializable. Companies like that actually raise capital from VCs and other private investors so that they can invest that capital, develop software, deploy it, and make money. Now, the whole ecosystem benefits, so there's always overlap here. This is not a black and white thing here, but this is the way that the ecosystem has evolved thus far, and where I want to take it is further along this evolutionary path. So beefing up the foundation, what I want to do next is I want to craft a few open positions. And I've been talking about some of these for a while, so there's really no surprise for those who have been listening. But one position that I want to open will be a chief scientist. And this chief scientist, again, would be sort of like, if you want to have an idea for what type of role this would be, and hat tip to Zane on this one, but check out like a chief scientist role at NASA as an example. And just to tell you, be very clear about my biases, I came out of the U.S. Air Force software engineering world, right? So this was very much working with organizations like NASA, working with DARPA, AFRL, the research labs, and so forth, and crafting projects where there's government and industry partnerships, and the government has an oversight role. Well, you can look at the foundation as having like an oversight role here, but we have to have strategic guidance, I think, at some level, in particular for the base science and tech, coming directly from the foundation. So this is the type of role that I want. I want the chief scientist to be really a key leader in driving long-term base science and technology strategy for the foundation. This is a very high-profile role and something that will probably take our time unless we just magically stumble on the perfect person right away. But this is something that we need to take our time and make sure that we're bringing the right person into the foundation. Going a level deeper from there is, and this is what I was mentioning, we've been talking about for a while, but a lead developer evangelist. This is, we know now with Zendoo going live, we are going to have to seriously catalyze the open source contributions to the ecosystem, the community developers who are contributing code into the open source repositories, so that we can enable an ecosystem to grow around this project and not just have certain entities like the foundation or labs or pipeline drive all of the growth and drive all of the product development. We need to catalyze an ecosystem. So we will be opening a role for a lead developer evangelist. This should be a very senior person, a very senior software engineer who has a ton of experience, not just with building things, but being able to communicate and be able to communicate and again, also think strategically about how to catalyze the growth of the open source software community. Next level from there, I want to open at least 2 positions for anywhere from mid to senior level developers for developer evangelists as well. And then this would be the new technical kind of components directly within the foundation that I want to do. And you could see why do this, because we already have fantastic software like engineering centers in Milan. Zane's building one in New York. We'll probably build another one, TBD, right? And we have a fantastic capability to develop software and products with the SDK as an example. But this is going a different level, a different tack, where we really have to think about the public goods problem of building a sustainable ecosystem that will be around for 20 plus years, right? This isn't about having a blockbuster product, making a ton of money on it, and then going away. This is about laying the foundations for the next 20 plus years so that we can be a dominant project over that type of time horizon. Okay, so I want to move relatively quickly on these roles since I've been talking about them for a while. So I'd like to have the roles open as early as the end of this week. So more to come on that in the near future. Finally, what I want to talk about is the big elephant in the room, and we've heard from Ana Julia and Rosario about various stages of where we are in the Zendoo delivery. This is the most significant delivery, obviously, of the project's history over the last 4 years, and this is something that we've been working on specifically for the last 3 years. So it is a doozy, and we are at the very end of that finish line. So when do we call this complete, and when do we officially hand it over to auditors? Well, at least the first part that we're handing over to auditors right away is going to be the component that Rosario mentioned, going to CoinSpec. So we're going to kick off that third-party audit right away, and this will be a major step forward for us as a project. The other auditor for the specialized cryptographic component, we will announce in the near future, but that audit is also scheduled. Everything's signed on the contractual side, and we're getting ready to hand over the code for that as well. So the major code reviews are done, right? We still have some lingering items over here, but we're in process of consolidating the branches on GitHub and prepping to hand over to the auditors. So this is a huge step for us forward as a project. I'm still not ready to declare mission complete on at least the development, because until we actually finalize all of the code reviews, we really don't know that we're done with development, because we can think that we're done. We've been doing code reviews, partial code reviews throughout the process, and all of the components are there and code developed. But until we can actually sign off, in particular, until Alberto, the CTO, can actually sign off on all of these code reviews, we're not going to declare mission complete yet on development. But we are pushing forward in any case. We're also going to be putting together a binary for integration testing and getting that going, I would say, as soon as this week. So what I'll say, because we're not declaring mission complete yet, I will say that we're slightly behind the original point estimates on our schedule. But we're still falling well within our risk-adjusted estimates. And as I was thinking about this and prepping it for you guys, I wanted to just take a few minutes to explain how we do business as an organization, how we do software development, because there is a lot of nuance here. And I think through these weekly meetings, these are kind of like working level sessions that we have with you guys weekly. So it's not always, the nuance might be missed. So we actually do a very robust software project management process. And this is, again, like from my background, from Rosario's background, we came from very, very sophisticated software engineering out of the Air Force, and huge, not hat tip, but huge, thank you to Rosario on this one for just bringing her experience over here and developing an extremely robust process with our engineering team and Alberto to make sure that we do rigorous software development. So what happens? How do we do this? So what happened with Zendoo, as an example, since this is our first major project that we're applying this sort of rigor to, the CTO kicks off the project as the owner of the project. He defines the architecture and the major work items, right? And originally this started with something like 7 major work items, right? And you can think a project like this that ultimately had hundreds of specific tasks, we started with 7, right? Major work items. The work items are assigned to developers. And in our case, specifically, we had to actually hire a whole team to actually work on this project, hire a team from scratch that we didn't have. So we developed a project, we kicked off a project for which we didn't have a team to actually execute the project, right? So this was kind of like I said, we're always in like a sprint here. Well, the sprint here was let's define a project, architect it, and scope it out, and hire a team simultaneously. Okay, we did that. We did it successfully. Then the developers work with the CTO and Rosario, who heads the project management office, to further define the task. This is the high level, like decomposing from high level tasks into work packages. Tractable work packages, no work package should last more than 2 weeks. If it's more than 2 weeks, you probably haven't done enough due diligence on decomposing it, right? So then from here, the developers propose a design that the CTO approves. So each developer takes their work package, they're told what they need to do, what the requirement is, and they propose a design. Now this is really key because this is like a bottom up software development process here. The CTO approves the design now, so this isn't working in a vacuum. He makes sure that it's rigorous, it makes sense, and it conforms with the overall strategy. And then we estimate resources and time that then we assign to these particular tasks. All of this gets rolled up into a project baseline that's approved by the CTO, the PMO, and me. And then we get working. We have a PM team run by Rosario, and this includes Luca, Angie, and Julia now. So this is a fantastic team that's just working like a well-oiled machine at this point, since we have a lot of experience in doing this. But we started from scratch, so we didn't have experience as an organization doing this stuff 3 years ago when we kicked off this project. And they track weekly activities. So this means they join weekly engineering calls and stand-ups. They do weekly tracking and problem solving, combined with the engineering and PM team. We progress and updates or progress and changes are updated in the project baseline weekly. Reports are generated weekly that the CTO, the PMO, and myself review and discuss. We do a risk assessment every week. So we see what are the risks and opportunities. Every single week we look at this, we track them over time. Any changes to the baseline go through a change control process, a CCP. This was not something that we had early on. This is probably the ultimate, not having this is the ultimate killer on complex software development projects, because it is all too easy to modify your baseline real time as you're developing. And this really is a killer. So if you don't lock down your baseline, by baseline I mean the set of tasks that comprise the project to accomplish your requirements, if you don't lock this down and not allow changes to it, or have a specific process that allows changes, this is how most software development goes 2x, 3x over schedule, is because you don't lock this down. Well, we've developed this process as we're going. We knew we needed it right away, but we were doing all of this on the fly. Now we have a rigorous change control process. And what it does is that we assess for every potential proposed change, is the change absolutely required? We understand how the change impacts the baseline, and we approve the change if it's absolutely needed, or if it adds a substantial benefit without significant cost. Because the idea here is we can always come up with a running list of things that add improvements to whatever efficiencies, functionality, and so forth, but that would be constantly changing and slipping the baseline, which would be constantly changing and slipping our schedule. So we don't do that. We make sure that we lock down the baseline and only add changes, which we have added scope to this project, by the way, guys, over time. We had one significant scope addition years ago, like with the beta release, because we realized that the original model needed significant improvements that we got working, Alberto working with our cryptography team and our IOHK team. They actually came up with a much better model that wasn't just better, but was actually needed. So we made that significant change to the baseline. And months ago, we added a few other things that were also extremely important that were determined to be needed. And some of them were determined to not significantly impact the scope just because of the particular way that resources were being allocated. Okay, so this is the way we do project management. Now, on top of all of this, we have a risk management process. So tasks are identified by complexity, and we have a simple model, low, moderate, and high complexity for the tasks that we work on. And we have hundreds of tasks, part of a single project like this. And then we can track over time, because we built here a historical database of tasks and their completion and performance on them. Did we complete early? Did we slip on them? Who was working on them, and so forth. And then we perform a statistical analysis on the historical task data, complexity weighting it, and we update the risk forecast. So just for you guys, we haven't been publishing the risk-adjusted baselines for you guys, but we've been just talking about the point estimates on when we're delivering the software. Now, the point estimate has slipped. We're behind on the point estimate, but we're still well within the risk-adjusted estimate, and the risk-adjusted estimate was actually the end of this month. Anyway, not to make excuses at all, because we're actually moving forward significantly on multiple fronts here. But this is just the way we do business and the way that we've evolved over time, which I would declare very confidently this gives us a very big competitive advantage in this industry. A very new industry, a lot of trial and error going on in this industry. We have a project that has rigorous processes, building very complex, sophisticated software with very rigorous, sophisticated control of that development process, but still we're on that innovation frontier, right? So this is Guys, I'll stop here because we're a little bit over time. I did talk quite a bit today, but I wanted to make it clear where we are exactly and what we're doing next and why we've made the decisions that we have. So I'll cut it here, and Angie, we can open up to any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rob. And thank you everyone for contributing with your questions. So the first one is kind of like 3-in-1. It says, what are you doing to promote Sendu sidechains? Will there be hackathons? Are there any new partners building on it? So we can account 3 of them in one.
Yeah, great question. Great questions. So yeah, there's a few answers given the few questions. And one, I'll just say our biggest constraint is we are capacity constrained on the product side because we don't have enough product engineers yet. This is why Zane came on, and Zane's building a team around him, and we're beefing up our Milan team and still really just trying to hire across the board. We have to improve our capacity or increase our capacity. That said, we have a huge backlog right now of projects, and we talked to you guys about these projects sort of piecemeal. Like Rosario today mentioned IOTA and Game Chain and different things that we're working on. Celsius, she mentioned. We actually have a much bigger backlog of things than we present to you guys every week. On top of this backlog, we actually have very significant potential partners that we're not yet ready to announce because some of these deals we haven't actually inked the deals, but we're in very advanced conversations with very large organizations that are very seriously considering Horizen being their blockchain infrastructure or their blockchain backbone, right? For very big, ambitious projects in the media space, in the live entertainment space, in the enterprise software space. So we have some very big discussions going on. If any one of these pan out, this would be a major just kind of jump up in, say, 2 orders of magnitude distribution of our software than we could ever do on our own from the grassroots level. That said, we also have grassroots community building on the developer side. Lucy launched the Horizen Early Adopter Program, HEAP, and we have HDE that we've been maturing. It's still in a bit of a lingering beta mode here. But this is why we're hiring developer evangelists, as an example. This is why we're beefing up the technical team on the foundation side, because we know that we also need this bottom-up type of like organic developers just coming in, using our technology or using the platform, building their own applications, just being independent and building. So we're doing that. We're really tackling this from both directions, and I have high confidence in the results.
Thank you, Rob. The second question is how's the future outlook now? Expand rapid or slow?
Another great question given the volatility in the crypto markets these days. So thus far, the volatility hasn't impacted us. And I would say just from like a financial position, you guys know if you're tracking the price of Zen, which I'm sure everyone here does, the foundation has been, or the ecosystem in general, has been in a much better financial position since Zen shot up over $10, right? So we're over $100 right now, and our break even was something like $10. What we chose to do, because we've been through this cycle, in the past, and we're kind of crypto veterans as an ecosystem here. So we did not just jump into spending all of the money that we had. What we did was we actually paid down a lot of debts because we had ecosystem partners that were going out on a limb previously during the bear market and building without compensation. So we paid them back. Then the next thing was actually building reserves for the foundation, and then companies within the ecosystem were also building reserves. So that was really the plan there, was to make sure that we can weather any storm. So where do we stand now? We're at this phase where, honestly, I think we still need to grow. We can't be too conservative because of the market volatility, but we also can't be too aggressive. We need to find that sweet spot. And I would say that sweet spot, just kind of like a Bayesian, I'll start somewhere in the middle, and we're going to do this by Labs is hiring significantly. We're building a product center in New York around Zane. We may build another center somewhere else, more TBD on that. We're beefing up the Milan team. We're constantly trying to hire as fast as we can. We can't hire fast enough. And then the foundation is building out its marketing communications team. You guys know about that for weeks now. We've had some open positions, and we have we have a lot of interest in those positions. So we have some very highly qualified candidates, and Lucy will be making some decisions soon on who to hire. And now I just mentioned today that we're going to be beefing up the technical team within the foundation, with starting with a chief scientist, a lead developer evangelist, and then other developer evangelists under that lead. So we are taking some aggressive steps forward. There are other very interesting and potentially one could consider aggressive like financing steps within the ecosystem, where we may be raising money or bringing in other financial players to do, to make bets within the ecosystem for growth. So more to come on that. I definitely don't want to spill the beans prematurely on anything, but I could say we are kind of towing that line of, just say like a Bayesian, just start in the middle. We don't want to be overly conservative. We don't want to be overly aggressive. So we're somewhere in that middle.
Great. And the third and final question is, will there be what will be the future of some old features, for example, SendChat, SendGrid, proposed VPN, etc.?
Yeah, so these would be, I'd say their future is dependent on what the community wants. And I would say from the foundation's perspective and from the lab's perspective, neither of those organizations are focusing on developing those older products that we envisioned. For specific reasons, and each of them has their own reason, but the overarching reason is we chose to go down a path of building a platform based on sidechains and these programmable blockchains based on Ouroboros Praos, so the community can be empowered to develop what they want. So rather than having an organization that just kind of uses its discretion to choose what to build, we decided to empower the community with a platform and let the community build. The way we'll do this, realistically, is we'll probably implement some sort of grants program and maybe some sort of VC type of function within the ecosystem, like other ecosystems do, so that we can subsidize certain people to do certain things. But ultimately, it really comes down to what does the community want, and do they not just want it as customers, but do they also want to come in as entrepreneurs and build? All right, so I think that's what it's going to come down to. But the path that we have is pretty clear on focusing on the platform.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rob, for answering the questions and for the ones contributing and asking them as well. Thank you, everyone for joining us, our Weekly Insider. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.